hidden human history movie, the Anunnaki, Nibirru and Sumerians. Ancient Sumerian texts refer to the Anunnaki as those that came down from the heaven, a race of extremely powerful and advanced beings that engineered mankind hundreds of thousands of years ago. According to the Genesis story, the 12th planet, known as Nibiru, was populated by humanoid beings very similar to us humans. After they encountered a severe atmosphere problem, they went on a quest through the solar system in order to find gold, a special metal that could heal their planet. When Nibiru approached Earth's orbit, about 432,000 years BC, the Nibiruans used spaceships to send people and essential goods from their planet to Earth. After they reached the surface, the advanced beings established bases in ancient Mesopotamia. In order to extract the precious metal, gold mines were established in southern Africa where they found abundant gold deposits. Because the work as a miner did not befit the Nibiruan masters, the Anunnaki people were sent to do the job for them. Treated like some sort of slaves, they represented the working element of this society, even though their physical and intellectual features were considered imposing by our current modern human standards. Because of their superior traits, the Anunnaki soon revolted against their overseers and demanded them to create an inferior being in order to do this petty job in their stead. Their leaders consulted and eventually concluded that a lesser being is indeed needed for this kind of exploiting work, and so they created a new race by combining their own genes with those of the most evolved primates that lived on Earth at that point in time, which was probably Australopithecus. At first, Enki and Ninma, two of the leaders, designed beings with formidable strength and size that worked for the Anunnaki on Earth, helping them to extract gold. As perfect as this sounds, the creation had one major flaw: they couldn't reproduce themselves, and so the so-called gods had to continuously make more of them to keep the mining process up and running at the desired capacity. As time passed, Enki and Ninma developed several beings until they managed to reach the desired goal. After all their struggle, the final product of their combined knowledge was able to talk, and most important, they could produce children themselves. This way the first human race appeared under the form of Homo erectus. Whenever Nibiru distanced away from Earth, a part of the gods returned to their home planet until it completed the 3,600-year cycle again, period of time which the Sumerians called the Sar. Meanwhile, the Anunnaki remained on Earth to take care of the gold mines and the so-called slaves, precisely as they were ordered by their gods. Because some human characteristics were also found in the Anunnaki, as the humans were created in their image, they eventually started to fight over earthly desires. Taking advantage of the situation, the slaves formed an alliance and revolted against their masters, like the Anunnaki once did. Many of them managed to escape the mines and eventually settled as free people in other parts of the earth, living their lives as depicted in many ancient texts, like the wild beasts. After the 3,600 years cycle was completed once again, the leaders of the Anunnaki returned to Earth and were very unpleased when they saw that the situation was out of control. They sentenced the Anunnaki to work the mines yet again. During their brief stay on planet Earth, the masters conducted more experiments in order to create a more sophisticated race of workers. They made Homo habilis and Homo erectus until they eventually developed a race able to think, speak and reproduce themselves, and so they created man, also known as Homo sapiens. The chief scientist Enki and the medical chief Ninti of the Anunnaki used genetic manipulation and in vitro fertilization in order to create humans in their own image. The process consisted in the development of a biological body in a controlled, non-living environment, similar to a laboratory vessel or glass tubes as shown on the seal of an ancient Sumerian cylinder. Man and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. Genesis 5:2. The Hebrew word for man is Adam, referring not to a single person but rather more, in our case a tribe of human beings called Adamites, or those who are of the ground. After the Anunnaki created man, Homo sapiens, they still confronted with one major problem: the slaves who escaped and scattered over a big portion of the planet. The solution came along with the Great Flood that was about to come as a result of what was happening in our solar system back then. They mutually agreed upon leaving them all to die, unknowingly of what was to come. However, Chief Scientist Enki, who was one of the leaders, convinced the others that his latest creation, Homo sapiens, was too complex and unique and deserved to live on this planet, and so was finally decided. The events that followed brought the Great Flood, wiping humanity except for Homo sapiens. Recent scientific discoveries such as the Neolithic gold mines in southern Africa or the tracking of all human DNA back to a single source, called Eve by the Genesis, have tended to confirm the interpretation of the Sumerian records. And yet another intriguing fact is that scientists can't relate why Homo sapiens has only been around for about 49,000 years, without any possible explanations about his sudden evolvement. This study was based on Zecharia Sitchin's Earth Chronicles that present the forbidden history of the human species, based on countless studies and interpretations of the ancient civilizations that once thrived and developed using now forgotten techniques.